Life is a journey of constant change. We experience joy, sorrow, love, and loss in an ever-changing dance. This constant flux is the essence of impermanence, a fundamental principle in Buddhism known as anicca. Everything around us is in a state of transition. The seasons change, our bodies age, and even our thoughts and emotions come and go like the tide. Yet we often resist this natural flow, clinging to the illusion of permanence. This attachment to what is fleeting leads to suffering. We crave stability in a world where change is the only constant. This resistance to the nature of reality creates a dissonance that manifests as dissatisfaction, fear, and sorrow. By embracing impermanence, we can begin to loosen the grip of these negative emotions. When we accept that everything is temporary, we can find peace in the present moment, appreciating the beauty of life's fleeting nature. Suffering, known as dukkha in Buddhism, is an inherent part of the human experience. We experience physical pain, emotional distress, and the anxieties of daily life. While these experiences are a natural part of being alive, our attachment to them amplifies our suffering. The illusion of permanence fuels our desire for things to stay the same. We cling to relationships, possessions, and even our own identities, fearing the day they will inevitably change or disappear. This clinging creates a cycle of craving and aversion, pushing us further from contentment. The fear of death, a natural human instinct, becomes magnified when we fail to accept the impermanence of life. We fear the loss of our loved ones, the end of our experiences, and the unknown realm beyond this life. By recognizing that attachment is the root of our suffering, we can begin to cultivate a sense of detachment. This doesn't mean becoming emotionless or indifferent, but rather observing our experiences with a sense of clarity and acceptance. Buddha's teachings encourage us to face the reality of death, not to dwell in morbid fascination, but to free ourselves from its grip. He saw death as an integral part of life, a natural transition, not an end. By acknowledging the inevitability of death, we gain a fresh perspective on life. We begin to appreciate the preciousness of each moment, recognizing that our time here is limited. Buddha encouraged his followers to live each day as if it were their last, not in a reckless way, but with a sense of purpose and intention. This doesn't mean we should abandon our responsibilities, but rather approach them with a renewed sense of presence and awareness. When we live in alignment with our values, knowing that our time is finite, we can face death with a sense of peace, knowing we have lived fully and authentically. Mindfulness of death, known as Maranasati in Pali, is a practice that encourages us to contemplate our own mortality. It's not meant to be a morbid or depressing practice, but rather a way to cultivate a deeper appreciation for life. By reflecting on the impermanence of our own existence, we can gain a sense of urgency in our spiritual practice. We become more aware of the preciousness of each breath, each moment of connection, and each opportunity for growth. This practice helps us to identify and let go of unhelpful attachments, fears, and limiting beliefs. It allows us to live more fully in the present moment, knowing that this moment is all we truly have. Maranasati is not about dwelling on death, but about using the awareness of death as a catalyst for living a more meaningful and fulfilling life. Section 5 Phawa, Navigating the Transition. In Tibetan Buddhism, the practice of Phawa or consciousness transference offers a unique approach to navigating the process of death and rebirth. It's a meditative technique aimed at consciously guiding one's consciousness at the moment of death. The goal of Phawa is not to escape death, but to attain enlightenment or a favorable rebirth by transferring one's consciousness to a pure realm. It's a complex practice that requires guidance from an experienced teacher and years of dedicated practice. Phawa recognizes the intermediate state between death and rebirth, known as the bardo. It provides a roadmap for navigating this liminal space with awareness and clarity. While Phawa is a specific practice within Tibetan Buddhism, it highlights the importance placed on conscious dying within the broader Buddhist tradition. It emphasizes the potential for spiritual growth and liberation, even at the moment of death. Section 6. Death, a transition, not an end. In Buddhism, death is not viewed as an absolute end but as a transition from one state of existence to another. It is seen as a natural part of the cycle of life, much like the changing of seasons or the transformation of a caterpillar into a butterfly. Just as we experience the cycle of birth, growth, decay, and death in the natural world, our consciousness continues in a cycle of rebirth, known as samsara. This cycle is a fundamental concept in Buddhist philosophy, illustrating the impermanence and interconnectedness of all life. This cycle is driven by karma, the law of cause and effect. Karma dictates that every action we take, whether good or bad, has consequences that shape our future experiences. Our actions, both positive and negative, create imprints on our consciousness that influence our future rebirths. These imprints are like seeds planted in the soil of our mind, growing and bearing fruit in future lifetimes. The quality of our actions determines the nature of our future lives. Positive actions lead to favorable rebirths, while negative actions result in less desirable outcomes. The ultimate goal in Buddhism is to break free from this cycle of samsara and attain enlightenment, a state of liberation from suffering. Enlightenment is achieved through deep understanding and the realization of the true nature of reality. This liberation is achieved through spiritual practice, ethical conduct, and the cultivation of wisdom and compassion. These practices help purify the mind and develop the qualities necessary for enlightenment. Understanding death as a transition, not an end, can alleviate the fear surrounding it. It offers a perspective that encourages acceptance and peace, knowing that life continues in another form. It encourages us to live ethically and cultivate positive qualities, knowing that our actions have consequences that extend beyond this lifetime. By living mindfully and compassionately, we can create a better future for ourselves and others. Section 7. The Story of Kisagotami, a Lesson in Acceptance. The story of Kisagotami, a young woman who lost her only child, illustrates the universality of death and the importance of acceptance. Her journey is a poignant reminder of the shared human experience of loss and the path to finding peace. Overwhelmed with grief, she carried her dead child from house to house, desperately seeking a cure. Her heart was heavy with sorrow, and her mind was clouded with the hope of finding a miracle that could bring her child back to life. A wise man, seeing her plight, instructed her to gather mustard seeds from a house where no one had died. He knew that this task would lead her to a profound realization about the nature of life and death. Kisagotami searched far and wide but couldn't find a single home untouched by death. Each door she knocked on brought her face to face with the reality that death had visited every family. Through this experience she realized the inevitability of death. It was a harsh but enlightening truth that began to lift the veil of her grief. It was not something unique to her or her child, but a universal truth that touched every living being. This understanding connected her to the broader human experience, making her feel less isolated in her sorrow. This realization brought her a sense of peace, allowing her to let go of her grief and accept the natural order of life and death. She found solace in the acceptance of this universal cycle. The story of Kisagotami reminds us that death is an integral part of life, a shared human experience that connects us all. It teaches us that in accepting this truth we can find a way to heal and move forward. By accepting this truth, we can begin to heal our own grief and find solace in the face of loss. Embracing the cycle of life and death allows us to live more fully and compassionately. Section 8. Living mindfully, appreciating the present moment. The Buddha's teachings offer practical guidance on how to live in a way that minimizes suffering and maximizes happiness, even in the face of death. These teachings emphasize the importance of being present and fully engaged in each moment, allowing us to experience life more deeply and meaningfully. By cultivating mindfulness, we can learn to appreciate the present moment without clinging to the past or fearing the future. This practice helps us to break free from the cycle of constant worry and regret, enabling us to live with greater peace and contentment. Mindfulness involves paying attention to our thoughts, feelings, and sensations without judgment. It encourages us to observe our inner experiences with curiosity and openness, rather than criticism or avoidance. It's about being fully present in the here and now, experiencing each moment with clarity and acceptance. This presence allows us to connect more deeply with ourselves and the world around us. When we practice mindfulness, we become more aware of the impermanence of all things. We start to see the beauty in the transient nature of life, understanding that change is a natural part of our existence. We see that our thoughts and emotions come and go like clouds passing through the sky. This realization helps us to not get too attached to any particular feeling or thought, knowing that they are temporary. This awareness helps us to detach from our thoughts and feelings, reducing their power over us. It allows us to respond to situations with greater calm and clarity, rather than reacting impulsively. By living mindfully, we can develop a sense of gratitude for the simple things in life, the warmth of the sun on our skin, the taste of our food, the sound of laughter, the warmth of the sun on our skin, the taste of our food, the sound of laughter. These simple pleasures, often overlooked, become more vivid and meaningful when we are fully present. These moments of appreciation, however fleeting, become sources of joy and contentment. They remind us of the richness of life and the beauty that exists in every moment, encouraging us to live with a heart full of gratitude. Section 9. Conclusion. The timeless wisdom of Buddha's teachings. The Buddha's insights on death offer a timeless source of wisdom for navigating the complexities of life and death. By embracing impermanence, cultivating mindfulness, and understanding death as a transition, we can find peace, even in the face of uncertainty. These teachings encourage us to live ethically, cultivate compassion, and appreciate the preciousness of each moment. They remind us that death is not something to be feared, but a natural part of the cycle of life. As we navigate the challenges of our own lives, may we remember the Buddha's final words. All conditioned things are impermanent. Strive diligently. Let us live with awareness, compassion, and a deep appreciation for the gift of life, knowing that each moment is an opportunity for growth, connection, and liberation.